Welcome to the Decatur Public Library. I'm Mr. John, and it's book talk time. Now this month, everybody is interested in scary stories, and we have a lot of scary stories at the Decatur Public Library, even for kids. So for book talk time today, I'm going to introduce you to some of these. Let's start with Invasion of the Road Weenies and Other Creepy and Warped Tales. This is a book of short stories, 35 in all, each one a little bit strange, a little bit creepy. The first story is called, for example, The Last Halloween. In it, Jennifer has decided, she's a little too old to go trick-or-treating this year. And then at the last minute, she decides she will go, but she doesn't have a costume. So she goes up into the attic. And in an old trunk that had belonged to her grandmother, she finds a scarf and a fashionable pair of elegant gloves. And so with the scarf and the gloves, she goes out trick-or-treating. But it turns out the gloves do a lot more than just make a fashionable costume choice. The Invasion of the Road Weenies, part of a series of a bunch of books with similar short stories in them. And then there's Doll Bones. Doll Bones is a full chapter book. In it, Zach and Poppy and Alice have been playing together for years with dolls and action figures, inventing stories in a whole imaginary world. And ruling over all of the characters in their stories is the Queen. Now, the Queen is represented by a fragile china doll that Poppy's mother keeps locked in a cabinet. But then one day Poppy unlocks the cabinet and takes out the Queen. And suddenly her dreams begin to be haunted by the doll, who claims that she is made from the ashes of a child who died, and she will not let them rest until they have taken the doll and buried it in the child's grave. Doll Bones. And then a historical ghost story. The Seer of Shadows, set in New York City in the 1870s. Young Horace has just taken a job with a photographer. Horace is the photographer's apprentice, learning the trade. Now, back in those days, photography was something that could be afforded only by the very wealthy. And Horace's boss has been asked to take the portrait of a very wealthy lady. And she's going to place that photo on the grave of her dearly departed daughter. But it turns out that every time Horace snaps a photograph in the lady's mansion, the ghost of the daughter comes back more and more. But she's not coming back to comfort her grieving parents. She's coming for revenge. The Seer of Shadows. And then a brand new book at the Decatur Public Library, The Puppets Payback. This is by Mary Downing Hahn, the queen of ghost stories for kids. And this is a book of short stories, short creepy stories. And the title story, The Puppets Payback, is all about a boy named Jeremy. Now, Jeremy's life is not very pleasant. He has trouble at school and trouble at home and trouble with friends. But then one day on the way home from school, Jeremy becomes attached to a puppet with a mischievous, evil mind of its own. Now, it turns out that the puppet turns Jeremy's life around for the better. But his teacher is not so lucky. The Puppets Payback. also by Mary Downing Hahn, a full chapter book, All the Lovely Bad Ones. In this book, two kids, a brother and sister, get to spend the summer at their grandmother's quaint inn in rural Vermont. And they decide, oh, wouldn't it be fun to pretend that the inn is haunted? And we'll play pranks to make the guests think that's true, and more tourists will come. And so they start to do that. But it turns out there really are spirits in the old hotel. And their actions have awakened things that were better off left dead. All the Lovely Bad Ones. And then if you want a short ghost story, this one is simply called Trapped. And it's about a boy, we're never told his name, who moves to a new town, and he doesn't know anybody, but he likes to skateboard, and when he arrives, he sees a big concrete culvert, a drain pipe, and he thinks that would be fun to skateboard in there with a flashlight. And so he does. But then he runs into some other kids who say, no one goes in there. No one. Not since. But he does. And you'll have to find out what he encounters there and what happens by reading the book. We have lots of creepy stories at the Decatur Public Library. And the links to all of these will be posted with the video. Or you can just come in and we'll help you find something creepy enough for you. Come in to see us at the Decatur Public Library, where I hope we'll be there to see you